Pearlstein here of Edwards Performance Solutions, talking about how close CMMC and project management professional certification are. I'd like to talk about risk. Having had my risk management professional certification for almost 15 years, there's a tremendous amount of overlap in the risk assessment domain. In project management, they look at risk as something that could happen. Whether it's an unknown known or it's going to eventually happen. If the risk does occur, it becomes an issue. In the case of CMMC, you're looking to protect your environment. You need to reduce the vulnerability. So if there is a breach, you're able to manage it and stabilize it. So Matt, my question to you, having your PMP and your understanding of CMMC, how is risk so critical to what you do and what we promote here at Edwards Performance Solutions?
So I've been a security professional for a number of years now. And when you boil it all down to what I do from a consulting aspect, I'm a risk advisor. Even with CMMC, I'm a risk advisor. Now, when I'm doing the actual assessment itself, that's different. But when I'm working with organizations to get them ready, I'm a risk advisor. I say, okay, this is what you should do. These are recommendations I make. You do what you want. That's a business decision. And when it comes to the risks surrounding CMMC, some organizations want to push that risk. They want to transfer that risk to maybe an MSP. Maybe they want to mitigate the risk by, putting some technology in place or whatever. But whatever they can accept it too. Accepting risk is perfectly okay. A lot of organizations don't realize that, but that's okay. You can accept the risk. You just want to make sure you go through the qualitative analysis and the quantitative analysis and then make an informed decision. But risk is always there. But when you do take the steps to address the risk, there's always residual risk. And that residual risk is the organization's risk appetite. Whatever residual risk remains, that's what your risk appetite is. When it comes to CMMC, there's a number of risks, the largest one being the fact that you could lose out on a contract if you don't have the level that is required of that contract. So if I want to bid on a contract that's CMMC level 2 and I'm only at 1, which is self-attestation, I might have some work to do. And if I don't do that, and I, decide I'm just going to be a little lackluster in my approach, the risk is huge because I might lose that. So risk is everywhere. And anyone who's been in any sort of security capacity at all understands that risk is everywhere. And we do what we can as professionals to reduce that risk or help organizations make decisions based on that risk. That's a great question.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Now, Kat, I've been in a number of meetings with you, meeting with a client. And the one thing that I was really impressed with you in meeting with our client was, how you talked about effectively mitigating risks, effectively informing the client as to the risks, what the risks are and how to mitigate. Share with us why you feel risk is so important to what you do when you're meeting with clients.
I try to get the clients to view it from the lens of you would rather be proactive than reactive. Reactive is generally far more expensive than being proactive.
Too late.
Every time that, and I call to mind not just the DoD contracts, but I talked about, I keep an eye on the news and I try to make sure that I'm aware if a public utility has been ransomwared, any other entity that could be hacked gets that, do you want to be on the front page of we didn't prepare? Because to me, that's what it's all about. And when you're talking about mitigating a risk, you're talking about identifying what the problem is. How long is it going to take me? How much money? Figuring out what, as Matt alluded to, that what level of risk are you willing to accept and what level of risk are you prepared to basically patch up, keep an eye on, and or hopefully eliminate from your risk landscape altogether. Mm-hmm. So I think that CMMC will start with DoD, but we will see something even FAA-wide, because there have been airlines that have been shut down completely, and that dollar figure again comes back into play. Would you rather be reactive or would you rather be proactive? Right. I can help you for either one. My recommendation is always going to be more aggressive towards trying to be prepared as you can, because the cleanup afterwards is never pretty for
Right.
anyone except possibly the lawyers and the public factor, the publicity factor.
Matt, in your travels, from a CISSP perspective, you're always looking at risk. You're a risk advisor. You're helping your clients identify that risk, mitigate it. If a risk occurs, something happens, a breach. From your experience, you're always going to put together some kind of mitigation plan, some kind of response activity as if something were to happen. The question I have for you, Matt, is, have you been in a situation where you effectively mitigated a particular risk once it did occur?
Yes. So in addition to all the incident response that I've been a part of, I've been a part of 4 ransomware events, and they're not fun.
Yeah.
When a ransomware event occurs, a lot of organizations take the approach of, oh, this is never going to happen to me. But then it happens to them, and they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have planned better. But there was one in particular that I was a part of. We were actually whiteboarding business processes, things to how to get deliveries for this organization. And so that was actually part of the mitigation strategy. But what I will say is that whole adage, my dad used to say it, my grandfather used to say it, that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that is so true.
Yeah.
I can spend $1,000 or $5,000 now to plan for the event, because if I don't spend that now, guess what? I'm spending exponentially more later. And so the planning process of going through the risk analysis for your organization certainly helps you. And so, yeah, the mitigation strategy is a whole lot easier when you know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
It takes emotion out of it. The people who have tried to lose weight, if I try to lose weight and I know that for lunch I'm going to have, a chicken breast and a side of broccoli, I know that going in. So when I'm hungry, I'm not going to make the bad decision, because if I don't have a plan, it's not going to be chicken and broccoli. It's going to be a large pizza and a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew, because I didn't plan ahead. And that's the same thing when it comes to organizations. You take the emotion out of it, know exactly what you're going to do when that bad thing happens.
Yeah. Maintain objectivity at all times. Right.
And I will piggyback, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Absolutely. Based on that comment, that concludes our discussion as risk aligns with both project management and CMMC. Matt, Kat, I want to thank you both for your time today, and looking forward to having further conversations with you regarding CMMC and project management. Thank you.